Hello, welcome to Michelle Sews Again. I'm Michelle. So today what I'm going to do is give you a quick little tutorial on how I use Trello to keep track of the patterns that I own. This is just the method that I use. There are a lot of different options out there. You could even use Pinterest, which is, which is free. Trello also is free. I believe there's a pay version that gives you some upgrades, but you totally don't need that just to keep track of your patterns. Some people do it physically, where they do it like in binders, or they just use filing cabinets. Because the majority of my patterns are PDF and I don't have all of them printed, or if I do have them printed, I have them rolled up in the big, huge roll that I get from PDF plotting. I like to keep track of mine digitally. And the other reason that I do that is because if I'm out and about shopping for fabric, then having my list of patterns at my disposal makes it easy for me to determine how much fabric I might need if I find something for a specific pattern that I want to make. So that's what this is all about today. So I am going to share, I'm going to switch over to a screen recording of me going through, showing you how I use Trello, showing you how to add a card or a new pattern. And then we'll come back here and finish our chat. Okay, so now I'm going to show you how I use Trello. So we're on my phone and you can see the Trello app icon is all the way to the right, the fourth row down. It's the blue one with the two white bars in it. So I'm going to click on that, and that's going to take me to my dashboard. And here's where I have added a board for sewing patterns. You could add as many boards, well, I don't know if there's a limit, but you could add other boards. You could add your fabric stash, you could add notions, you could break those down further if you wanted. But right now, all I have in here is my sewing patterns. And within sewing patterns, I have what are called lists. So I've got my sewing patterns broken out by category, major category. So I've got a list for tops, a list for dresses, a list for pants, one for jackets, accessories, sleepwear, overalls, and jumpsuits. And that's it. And if I needed to add more, I would just come here and click on Add List. And I could do that as many times as I needed. Well, again, I don't know if there's a limit, but for me right now, this breakout works for me. If you have a really massive stash, you might want to break it out even further. For example, you might want to break tops out into short sleeve and long sleeve, or knits versus wovens. Or you might want to go even further and do short sleeve knit, short sleeve woven. You get the gist. So you can see here that I have mine in alphabetical order. Now, the majority of my patterns are indie patterns, so they have names. I do have some big four in here, so they would just fall in based on their number. So you can see here I've got the Butterick B5496, and so my Buttericks are with the B's, my McCalls are with the M's. Pretty straightforward. Now what's going to happen is I had to sort this, and I'll show you how to do that in a minute. I had to choose an option to sort this in alphabetical order. Because the majority of mine are named, that makes it easier for me to find what I'm looking for if I'm looking for something specific. However, when you add a new pattern to the list, and that would be this option at the bottom that says Add Card, it's automatically going to throw that all the way to the bottom of the list. So if you are sorting yours alphabetically, you would need to resort it after you add something new. So you can see here, these are my tops. And what we're going to do now is I'm going to show you, I'm going to add a new card, which is basically a new pattern. And it's one that I've just recently bought. and I want to get it in here. So it's a jacket. So I'm on the list for jackets, and I'm going to the bottom here where it says add card. And I'm going to name it. Now, the naming convention that I use for mine is I put the pattern name in, and this, for this example, we're using the Pona jacket. From Helen's Closet. We're going to click add, and then it's created the card, but now we have to fill it with information. So I clicked on that, and I don't go crazy with information here. You could put as much or as little information as you want. I'm literally just using this to tell me what patterns I own. I don't need to know fabric requirements or sizing information or any of that stuff. If you wanted to go that extra, then you certainly could do that. What I do is I put the URL for the pattern in the description. I do use labels, so I am going to say this is woven fabric, and I added all these labels. So you would just come in here and add, just click that plus sign and add whatever labels you want. I'm going to do woven jacket, and I have brands in here. So I've got Helen's Closet. So I've added those three, and you can see those now under the tags. And that will allow me, like if I'm doing a search and I want to search, let's say, all my Helen's Closet patterns, I could just click on that tag and everything Helen's Closet would show up. And then members is if you want to add, if you want to invite any other people to come and see what you have added. And then checklist, I guess if you needed to see, do you have everything you need to make the pattern? You could create a checklist. I don't use any of those. And then add attachments. That's where we're going to we're going to add a photograph. So I'm choosing from photos, recents, and now I've got the pattern, the photo in there, and I need to add, I want to put the URL. So I go to the web page, I want to copy the URL, and I want to put that in the description. Now the other thing, and the reason that I do that is if I am out at a fabric shop and I see some really great fabric and I know I want to use it, I want to use that fabric for the Pona jacket, then I would just come into my app, click on the URL, and that would take me to the fabric requirement. You know, I could find all that from the page on the website rather than me having to add all the information into the card. You might find it easier to add the information to the card so you don't have to go the extra step with the URL, but that's a personal preference. The other thing that I like to add in the description is I get all of my PDF patterns printed from PDF plotting, but I don't always do it as soon as I buy the pattern. So within the description, I will say whether or not the pattern is printed, and this one is not printed. And then once I print one, I'll come in and I'll make an adjustment to that verbiage in the description. And there you go. So now you can see it's thrown the Pona jacket at the bottom of my jackets list because it's behind the Vogue. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to resort the list, and it only sorts the list that you're on. So it'll only sort jackets. If you want to sort tops, you'd have to be on the tops list. If you want to sort dresses, you'd have to be on the dresses list. You get it. So I'm going to click on, at the top, you see where it says jackets, all the way to the right are these three little dots. You're going to click on the three little dots. You're going to get the pop-up box. And then the third option down is to sort the list. I want to sort it ascending, card name alphabetically. And now you can see it threw the Pona before the Roma coat and after the penny coat. And so there we go. Now I have my list. So now anytime I want to see what jackets I have, I can just come in here and scroll through and see if anything that I already own does what I need it to do. Is it solving the problem? Is it giving me the look that I want? And I can do that for all of my different categories. Now I have bought a few patterns over the last couple of months, so I need to go through and make sure this is completely updated, and that everything gets added in. I don't think I have a lot to add back in. But so now that I've walked you through, you can see how easy it is. It's literally like, now that I know how to use it, I don't know why I stumbled with it the first time that I downloaded it, but it's really super easy. So if you think about it, there's a hierarchy. So when you first log in, there's a dashboard. You add a board to the dashboard, and you can have as many boards as you want. Well, again, I'm not sure if there's a limit, but let's say, you want a board. I have one for sewing patterns. I could also, if I wanted to, and maybe I will in the future, I could have a board for my fabric stash. I could have I could have a board for my notions. So you can organize things however you want there. So the first layer in the hierarchy is the board. Then once you go into the board, the next level of hierarchy are the lists. And that's where I had my categories broken out. So I had my tops, dresses, pants, and so on. The next level of hierarchy after the lists are the actual patterns. Are the cards. A card equals a pattern. So then you can add cards to each list. Or in this case, I could add patterns to each category. And I can break the categories up as, into as big a chunks or as small a chunks as I want. I believe I mentioned that in the walkthrough of the app. So yeah, that's pretty much it. It's pretty straightforward. I would love to know how you organize your patterns. Do you do more big four, so you do them more physically? I think I get if you're mostly big four, organizing them physically. But I think that especially for people who like to do those big sales, like the 99-cent sale or the $1.99 sale, unless, like, if you've got a massive stash of patterns, how do you remember them all? So when you are doing the 99-cent sale or the $1.99 sale, do you ever buy duplicates because you don't have a digital reference to look at to see, hey, I already have that pattern? I'm just curious how that works for you. And I guess if you put out a 99 cents or $1.99 for a duplicate, that's really not a big deal, right? So anyway, I'm just curious, how do you organize or keep track of the patterns that you own? I am curious, how big is your pattern stash? I will have to go through and count mine up, and I will leave that in the description box. I'm sure that mine, although it feels pretty massive to me, is probably a baby stash compared to most of you. So that's it for me today. I'd love to hear what your thoughts are on this, so join me down in the comment section, and I will talk to you in the next one. Thanks for joining me. Wherever you are, I hope you're having a fantastic weather day, and I hope you're able to get some sewing in. Thanks so much. Bye.